Hello and welcome to the Freedom Zone, where the truth is set free whether you like it or not. I'm your host Candace, and I'm here with you today to talk about a few things that you might be interested in. First of all, call the law. Call the law. Because Hillary says that she had the election stolen from her. Oh my gosh, she's lost and she can't shut up. So we're going to have to call the law and see if they can find out who stole the election from her. It couldn't have been her because Lord knows she's never wrong or blamed for anything. I mean, can you imagine the exchanges between Hillary and Bill after she lost? Bill, I lost. Yeah, that's okay, honey. Don't worry about it. Then it's like, Bill, they're mean. Yes, that's all right. It's okay. And finally, after, because we are white women that let our husbands tell us how to vote, and we're not very progressive over here. After she goes on her worldwide tour, telling why she lost, Bill's like, okay. And then it's like, well, I think they stole it from me. And he's like, yeah, you're right, honey. Go ahead. So now we've got her saying she got the election stolen from her. Of course, Stacey Abrams has claimed that since the beginning. So we're trying to decide if she is joining Stacey Abrams' team or if she's joined the demented Hillary team. It's hard to say. It's like who's on first. Kellyanne Conway was very upset with that and took offense and said that she's a cuckoo, basically, without actually saying it. But it's kind of crazy thinking that after all this time, she would think that it was stolen from her. I'm like, come on, lady, get a clue. However, Beto Bozo O'Rourke is promising to appoint Stacey Abrams to a position, if he's elected president, to protect the votes. I guess she will bite each one as people leave the voting booth. That way it'll have a certain mark and they'll know it's verification. It'll be like a verification stamp, right in the teeth. All kidding aside, both Stacey and Hillary did lose their races, fair and square. Hillary didn't bother to even go to Wisconsin. She didn't bother to do a whole lot of campaigning. Trump went everywhere, filled stadiums and venues, but there was an election stolen in 2016. I wrote an article about it here on Fetch Your News back in November of last year called Diversionary Tactics. I'm going to repost it so that you can look at it. This is about the state of Florida. And if you remember, in Florida, there was a problem with the governor's votes, a problem with the senator's votes. Rick Scott was trying to get senator after being governor, and Ron DeSantis was trying to be governor, and they were counting votes because there's a county in Florida, Broward County, that has a woman that was running for the Department of Agriculture named Nikki Fried. And she was losing on Tuesday night, the night that we've all voted. She was behind Republican Matt Caldwell by 4,000 votes for the position of Department of Agriculture Commissioner. And the scrounge of the 2000 election, if you guys can remember back that far between Al Gore and President Bush, was a woman who was in charge of the integrity of the vote. And her name would be Brenda Snipes. With all the controversy that was caused during the Al Gore, George W. Bush election in 2000 and how long it took for us to get a completed vote in Florida, you would think Brenda Snipes wouldn't be there anymore, but surprise, she's still there. And it's amazing to me because you go to bed one night and you're ahead 4,000 votes, and the next morning, all of a sudden these votes start popping up. And the next few days, there's votes, in the back of someone's car or in a schoolyard or somewhere. And these votes had lollygagged around, and then finally they ended up rounded up by Brenda Snipes. Isn't that amazing? Not one time, but twice. She couldn't verify the votes with 2,000, and she couldn't verify the votes for this particular election, and she held up the election for quite a long time. And in the end, Nikki Fried is the Department of Agriculture Commissioner. Now you think, well, that's not a big deal. Well, in Florida, first of all, it is a big deal because there's a lot of money in juice and agricultural products, oranges, apples, fruit, whatever, and vegetables that come out of there. But that's not the important part. That's not the part you need to think about. Because the Department of Agriculture is where you apply for a concealed carry or a carry license for a gun. That's the thing that the Democrats have been after since, well, probably prior to 2008, but 2008, they really thought, you know, that with Barack Obama in the White House, that they would end up getting our guns. In fact, he made horrible fun of everybody that had a gun, that clung to religion and their guns. And he kept on, you know, every time there was some sort of shooting, he would, you know, go on and on about gun control along with all his little minions, which they assumed, I really believe they assumed that by 2016 they would have our guns, or would almost have them, and Hillary would continue that role because she was, you know, set up to be in the White House, even though it was totally rigged for her. Caused Bernie Sanders not to get the the endorsement of the Democratic Party. But anyway, she didn't make it, but that was their plan, and it's still their plan. So you have to realize that when this small role, as you might think, the Department of Agriculture, went to a Democrat instead of a Republican, it's a really big deal. I mean, I know in 2000, you know, between Al Gore and George W. Bush, you know, Al Gore cried and cried so hard that they finally gave him, you know, the Nobel Peace Prize on climate change. And also this same Brenda Snipes is the one who destroyed a bunch of votes for Debbie Wasserman Schultz, so that she, after the election, they could not verify it because she had already destroyed the votes. This is what scares me. This is what scares me as far as the elections. You know, you've got someone in power that can slow walk a gun permit for you through the Department of Agriculture, which I'm sure that they will, and a lot of people might lose patience and give up. But here's the thing. One little election here, one little election there. It ends up making a lot of points. I'm not totally sure that we can trust any of the elections anymore, and I don't think it's because of the reason the Democrats want to say that you know, the Russians interfered, you know, the Martians interfered. That's not it. I am alleging that they are trying to fix elections every day, and what scares me the most is that, you know, they had practice in 2018, 2020 is coming. They had it rigged. I mean, the reason that Hillary, I guess, is so surprised that she didn't win is the fix was supposed to be in for her. It was supposed to be that, you know, she would win, and there was nothing to it. So, you know, that's why she went to sleep before the final vote in November of 2016, because she thought she was a shoo-in. I mean, it was amazing, the crust that they put out for her to do the things that she did or didn't do, the money that, you know, she was in control of, and all these things, and the corruption that she had, and yet she was still slated to win. So my biggest fear is that they'll find a way to cheat in 2020. But all this loser talk of elections, it's like the words of the bard, you know, methinks he doth protest too much. If you protest too much, usually you're pretty guilty. So I figure if you're still crying and complaining that the election was stolen from you, then, you know, you doth protest too much, because you know that you had rigged it, you had it rigged, paid for it to be rigged, and yet you still lost. So that's pretty sad, and that's not something that I mean, it's kind of hilarious in a way, but it's not something that you can laugh at too much, because they have already started rigging things, and it's just going to get a little bit worse every year. I suppose they get a little bit better at it, they get a little bit more practice, and people like Brenda Snipes need to be gone. I mean, if you have tarnished elections for 20 years, that is an extreme problem. It needs to be eliminated right away. And then right now we've got 24 people running for the Democratic nomination for president. Imagine, and I would hate to be part of that backbiting, because boy, that's going to be it's going to be some clawing and chewing and biting, because really, and none of them are much qualified for anything. You know, they're ne'er-do-wells or nothing. They did nothing. Like Bozo O'Rourke, they did nothing. Like Biden, he's constantly sniffing and grabbing people, and I mean that's totally not something I want to see my president go across the ocean and talk to some prime minister's wife, tell her something about how good her hair smells. That's pretty embarrassing. At least it is for me. But hopefully, as there was a rally for Trump last night, and he still has thousands of people that show up at his rallies, and I think that the Democratic Party have underestimated the base that Trump has, because there are people like me, there are people like you, working people. We pay our bills, we go to work every day. We're not into anything that, you know, could be considered out of line or off color. We're just trying to get our children raised and make a good life for ourselves. And I believe that that's his base. I believe that'll always support him. And I'm just hoping that more people on the other side will see and come to realize that the Democratic Party is really promising no one anything. We're very prosperous right now, and they're promising that they'll try to tear that down. I don't know about you, but I really enjoy having money in my pocket again. I really enjoy having a job. I really enjoy being able to pay my bills and not rolling the wheel of fortune to see who the lucky winner is this week that gets to get paid, because I don't have enough money to pay all my bills. And I know a lot of you have gone through that, and I know you don't want to go back to it. And the Democratic side is not promising us anything. They have no platform. They have a crybaby has-been, another has-been, which is Joe Biden, which is supposedly the front runner, and then we've got a communist that's Bernie Sanders, who is a millionaire but will not apologize for that, because he made something that people want and he's selling it. So that's kind of hypocritical overall, and I don't think that there's anything any better in the whole group. You couldn't put them all in a blender and strain out the bad and come up with one good person. So that's my take on that. Hillary's going to continue to cry while we take a break, and we'll be back to talk about some more interesting things when we come back from break.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LOJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair, and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on-site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Hi, I'm Rhonda the Mattress Lady, and this is my husband Gary, owners of Mattress Overstocked in LJ next to Walmart.
And we want to earn your business. From the time you walk in our door to the time we deliver your new mattress to your door, you will see the difference. Our selection and prices are the best in North Georgia, and customer service is our top priority. So y'all come on in and let us help you find the right mattress at the right price. That's Mattress Overstocked in LJ next to Walmart.
Circuit World, with multiple locations to serve you in Murphy and Franklin, North Carolina, Blairsville, Blue Ridge, and Ellijay, Georgia. Locally owned and operated since 1985. Appliances, electronics, and furniture. Name brand products like LG, Samsung, Dell, Whirlpool, Ashley, Catnapper, and more. No credit check, only 10% down on furniture, and only $10 down on any new lease purchase. Mention FYN10 for your special deal today at Circuit World. In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
Hello and welcome back to the Freedom Zone. I'm your host Candace, and I wanted to talk about a couple of Georgia stars as we start our second half. Our governor, Jack Kemp, has signed the heartbeat law, which is a great thing for the protection of human life. We'll go into abortion on another episode, but I'm proud of our governor for at least standing up and passing that when Congress could not bring themselves to protect babies that were born alive after a botched abortion or a late-term abortion or whatever you want to call it, but they were still alive and they could not protect them. Another one of our Georgia stars who is super great and has been super great lately, super good, super loud, super pushback is Representative Doug Collins. He was in the Congressional Committee for Oversight with Nadler, who's doing his faux impeachment practice, and he was busting his chops as far as busting Nadler's chops about, you can't do this kind of thing, you're not helping the constituents, and I'm really proud of him for that. I think that it's great because somebody has to be a big boy, and we've got a lot of people, or a big girl, because there's plenty of ladies in there that also need to stand up and say, come on, we're done. Luckily, Mitch McConnell stood up, grew a pair, and said, case closed on the Mueller investigation. But we still have people trying to to hold in contempt our Attorney General, Bob Barr. In fact, I don't know if anybody remembers the Dukes of Hazzard. They're just a bunch of good old boys, never meaning no harm. But it seems like their nemesis, Boss Hogg, has moved on from being like a local pain in the Duke's behind to being in Congress. He was over there eating chicken the other night, calling Bob Barr a chicken and squaffing down chicken like someone with no manners. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's Mr. Cohen. It's not Boss Hogg. He looks like Boss Hogg. He could be a Boss Hogg impersonator, and he's eating like a hog. And I think that it's about the rudest thing I've ever seen. My cousin mentioned that his pay needed to be docked because we don't pay them for lunch hour. Also, that is a place, it's not a sacred place, but it is a place where laws are made, and I don't think Kentucky Fried Chicken has a place there because you want to show that Bob Barr's a chicken. He's not a chicken. He's following the letter of the law. He is not required to be interrogated by non-elected lackeys that you people have. Congress can talk to him, the Senate can talk to him, but your lackeys don't get a chance to talk to him. Are we going to let the janitor like interview the president and make sure he's doing his thing right? Or maybe the private could interview the general and make sure he's doing right? No, there's a hierarchy of things. And these things are done in a certain manner. And it's not just because somebody says, oh, that's the nice way to do it. No, it's not. It's because of the law. The law tells you what you will do and what you won't do. And the Constitution is a roadmap. It's not something to impede you. It's something to guide you. And these people in Congress now, since the 2018 election, they seem to think that it's just something to get in their way, in their power grab. And I just can't stand it. And the way that this guy, Steve Cohen, makes Tennessee look, because that's his representative state, he makes Tennessee look bad. In fact, he's the one that said that Marsha Blackburn, who is the senator from Tennessee, should jump off a bridge or a roof or something like that. I mean, it was probably the most horrible thing that you could say about an opponent, because, well, even she wasn't even an opponent because it's the Senate and the House, but that's supposedly your colleague from your state, your home state, where you are representing people. And I doubt that anybody, maybe on a majority scale, would not want Marsha Blackwell, I believe it's Blackwell, I'm sorry, to jump off a roof or a bridge. That's just not, that's not the way you're supposed to act when you're representing me as a constituent and you as a constituent. Because I don't work for these people, you don't work for these people, they work for us. They have forgotten who they work for. But anyway, Mitch McConnell said that everybody should get over it on the Mueller case. It's case closed. However, I bet there's something that you don't know too much about. It's called, if you remember, Mueller had indicted 13 Russian different people out of Russia, and of course they're never going to come to the U.S. to be indicted on election interference. Well, actually, one company called Concord Management of Russia did come. They did show up for court. And the Mueller people were horribly surprised, and they wanted to not have the case heard because they wanted to clear their name, because they're like, we didn't do anything, we want to clear our name. And so they showed up at the hearing where they were supposed to be indicted or whatever, and with their lawyers. And the Mueller team said no, we want to stay this a continuance because they weren't properly served. And the judge, her name was Dabney Friedrich, who was presiding over the challenge by Concord Management and Consulting, said, well, they're here. So they were able to go ahead and have their case heard before the judge because they did not feel like they should have been indicted falsely, because they said they did not do anything to interfere with the elections. And this shocked the absolute stew out of Mueller and his team, because they thought that they could just make stuff up, basically, and nobody would challenge them because they were in Russia. And like I say, no one that they indicted, quote unquote, were going to come and face charges here or be extradited to here, because the Concord Consulting people felt like that Mueller and his team had fabricated a crime against them, and they had not done anything to support our election meddling. In fact, there's a Internet Research Agency, the IRA, which is a Russian troll farm, which was accused of trying to influence the election in 2016, and they were supposedly part of that, which they said they were not. The judge requested clarification on what the DOJ said that they were guilty of, and they really didn't have a whole lot to go on because, like I said, they were so surprised that anyone would dare challenge them, because they thought no one would come from Russia to do that. And the allegation is that they knowingly engaged in deceptive acts, and they did not register with the FEC or the DOJ for being outside agents, and they had broken the law. And the judge said that there was really nothing against the law for maybe trying to mislead people or tell the people different things on social media or the internet that really weren't especially maybe true, I suppose is what you would call it, but they were the only ones that challenged Mueller about that. It's funny because you never heard anything about that on the news. The mainstream, if they mentioned it at all, it was briefly and fleetingly back in February of last year, and you never heard anything about it. But Rosenstein was so proud because they had indicted 13 people or agencies, in Russia. That's kind of funny. It was all funny, and the thing is, Mueller knew probably 3 months into the collusion case that there was no collusion. In fact, it looks like that they're coming up with a lot of investigative reporting that's going to show that everybody knew that prior to Trump being inaugurated. And it's going to be interesting to see who gets indicted, because some of these people think they're above the law. I'm not so sure that if they had just, said, congratulations, you won, and had not, pursued all this, that this would have ever come to the light, because this was a soft coup, and we all know it was a soft coup to try to unseat a legitimately elected president. It's come out, there's so much proof showing that it was a conspiracy, that all the players knew that they were trying to find a crime to fit the man, and they could not find one because there wasn't one. They were not. The Trump campaign was not advised that there was possible spying or election interference in their campaign, so that they could be aware of anyone who might have been a mole or a plant. And they had Rudy Giuliani and Chris Christie as part of the team, and they could have told and explained that perfectly well to them, and they could have passed that along to the now president, who was once a candidate. So it is unreal, the stuff that they've tried to do, and they're going to continue to do, and we all have to be very vigilant and watch, and of course we all have to vote, because if we don't vote, nothing will change. It's just unreal what's going on in Washington right now, and then we're all waiting with bated breath to see who really does get indicted. I'm hoping for quite a few. I think the head of the snake goes all the way up to the top in the previous administration. That's my personal opinion. Also, I have questions in my mind about Jeff Sessions, because he was the first one to support Trump, and Trump's someone who rewards you for being loyal. And so he got the Attorney General position. Of course, most of that time, I don't know what he was doing. Maybe he was hiding under his desk. Maybe he was, smoking cigarettes and watching Captain Kangaroo. But he was not being an Attorney General. And I have my doubts about what his role was in the campaign and who he might have favored one way or the other. I mean, it's something to think about, because there were moles in that campaign. He was spied on. He was ridiculed for telling everyone that he was spied on or that he was wiretapped. Oh, you're crazy, you're making this up, blah, blah, blah. Well, as usual, it was true. He was right. Sometimes maybe he should have waited a minute to announce it, but that's just the way he is. He's very forthright, and I can respect that in a president. You have so many that babble and talk, and then you can't get a straight answer out of him. You're never going to have to worry about that with President Trump. He's going to tell you exactly what he thinks of you, and exactly where he's going with it. So to me, that's kind of refreshing. I've never known a president to keep all of his promises as best he can, and he has done that. So I think we have something to be proud of, and I'm hoping that in 2020 he'll come back and lead us another 4 years. I'm certainly enjoying the prosperity, and I hope you are too. This is your host, Candace, and I appreciate you joining us today. Come back and see us next week, and remember to look on Fetcher News for my article about diversionary tactics, which will explain to you what happened with the Department of Agriculture election. Thank you, and have a great weekend.